Have you ever stopped to think that creativity might be way more than just, painting or writing a song?
Hmm.
What if it's not just a skill we pick up, but something really fundamental? Maybe even like the main way our soul communicates.
That's exactly the path we're heading down today. In this deep dive, we're going to explore creative expression as, well, a really profound spiritual journey. Our main guide here is the divine canvas, how your soul paints reality through creative expression by the spiritual seek. It's quite compelling stuff.
Right.
Wow.
So our mission today is to unpack this idea that creativity isn't just something humans invented, that it's more like a divine inheritance, something that actually reveals the very structure of our souls. Hopefully by the end of our chat, you'll see your own creative spark in a completely new way as this innate, powerful thing you have. Okay, let's get right into it then. When we hear creativity, we often think painters, writers, musicians, the usual suspects. But this source really challenges that. It suggests creativity is way bigger than just making art or having clever ideas. It's core to existence itself.
That's right. Many ancient traditions didn't see creativity as just a human thing. They saw it as a divine force, woven into the universe. Take ancient Egypt, for instance. They believed the god Ptah literally thought and spoke the world into being.
Wow. Okay, so consciousness itself as the creative engine right at the start.
Exactly. A very early, powerful idea. And you see echoes of this elsewhere, too.
Like where?
Well, the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below,
Yeah.
It perfectly captures this. It suggests our human ability to create isn't just random talent. It's a reflection, a little mirror of the huge cosmic creativity that's always happening.
So we're not just making things.
Mm.
We're participating in this cosmic creation.
That's the idea. We're participating in the universe constantly unfolding.
So if I'm, say, organizing my desk or designing a new workflow or even just doodling, I'm tapping into that same universal energy.
Precisely. It shifts things, doesn't it? Creativity isn't just a hobby. It's fundamental. It means our creative acts, whether they feel big or small, are echoes of that first impulse. Facing a blank page, you're tapping into the energy that manifests everything.
Okay, that's a big concept. Now, how does this universal force show up in us individually? This is where it gets really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
The source talks about 12 creative archetypes. These aren't just labels, right? Like personality types.
Not really, no. Think of them more like unique lenses, different ways this universal creative energy chooses to express itself through each of us. They describe the soul's preferred way of connecting with and adding to the divine reality. Each one is a distinct flavor of consciousness.
Could you maybe give us a couple of examples, make them vivid so we can sort of recognize them?
Sure. Let's start with the aesthetic seeker. This isn't just someone who likes pretty things. They really embody what Plato called a divine madness for beauty. Their soul just vibrates with harmony, like the golden ratio in nature, the perfect chord in music. For them, beauty isn't surface level. It's a direct line to truth. They kind of act as translators, bringing that divine beauty into forms others can feel, waking them up to the sacredness of it all.
A translator of beauty. I like that. What about people who are more, hands-on, focused on skill and mastery?
That sounds very much like the master crafts person. This archetype is about transformation through sheer dedication. It's not just about making something perfect. Think of the Zen concept of Takumi. The craftsperson becomes so absorbed, so one with their work, that the ego just dissolves. The act itself becomes a deep meditation. It's not just about the final product, but the intense focus, the process that actually refines the soul. Like a Japanese tea ceremony or mastering a martial art, you go beyond technique.
So the making is the spiritual path.
Yeah.
Got it. And then you must have the ones who really push boundaries, the rule breakers.
Absolutely. That would be the bold innovator. They've got that Promethean fire, they see beyond the everyday like a shamanic dreamer, pulling visions from other realms. Their whole purpose feels like bridging dimensions, challenging how things are, bringing in totally new ways of thinking. Often they seem way ahead of their time, like triggers for where we're heading collectively.
These archetypes really do sound like windows into how this big universal consciousness decides to, express itself uniquely through every single one of us. Like we each get a specific instrument in this huge cosmic orchestra. That really changes how you might look at your own inclinations. But okay, how does someone actually do this? How do you engage with creativity as a spiritual practice, not just a job or a pastime?
Well, that shift in understanding opens up really profound possibilities. When you see it this way, the simple act of creating becomes, a form of prayer, a meditation, direct connection. This ties back to ancient ideas, like the Hermetic principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental.
Meaning everything starts in consciousness.
Exactly. So the artist's studio, the writer's desk, it's not just a room. It can become a sacred space, a temple. That blank canvas or screen, it's a portal.
Which would explain why some creative works just resonate so deeply across time. They feel like they have an energy beyond the paint or the words.
Precisely. Think about Beethoven's Ninth or Rumi's poetry. They still hit us hard centuries later. It's likely because they weren't just technically brilliant. They came from a place of deep connection, a consciousness that touched something timeless. They carry that vibration.
And the source connects this creative journey to something like alchemy, a transformation process for the soul.
Yes, it's a really potent metaphor. The alchemical stages map beautifully onto the creative and spiritual journey. You have the nigredo, the blackening. For creators, that might look like writer's block, crippling self-doubt, that dark night. Then comes albedo, the whitening, purification, finding clarity, finding your real purpose within the work. Next, citrinitas, the yellowing. That's like the dawn, spiritual gold starting to shine through your creations. Insight. And finally, rubedo, the reddening, completing the great work, becoming a conscious co-creator fully aligned with that divine spark. So those struggles are not just bumps in the road, they're part of the refinement.
That reframes creative blocks completely. And wow, it even connects to modern physics, quantum consciousness. How does that work?
It's actually quite stunning how quantum physics mirrors some of these ancient mystical ideas. Consider the observer effect, the idea that just by looking at something, observing it, you influence its reality.
Right, the act of measurement changes the outcome.
Well, mystics have said for ages that our awareness shapes reality. In creativity, this suggests your focused intention, your consciousness, is crucial. It helps take ideas from that vast field of potential and bring them into actual form.
So our attention literally helps collapse the wave function of an idea, pulling it from possibility into reality.
You could think of it that way, yeah. And then there's entanglement, particles linked instantly no matter the distance. This might help explain collective inspiration. You know how sometimes the same idea pops up in different places around the same time, like a shared field we're all tacking into?
Like Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance idea.
Possibly related, yes. It suggests a kind of interconnectedness of creative thought.
This really does elevate creating something. It's not just personal expression. It feels like engaging with the fundamental mechanics of the universe. A form of prayer, indeed. It's amazing to think our creative impulses could ripple out so far. Let's explore that a bit more. How does this creative consciousness tie into bigger things like healing the planet or even seeing the future?
It really broadens the perspective. The source mentions an ecological artist archetype. This connects creativity directly to planetary healing. Many indigenous traditions see human creativity as part of the Earth's own awareness unfolding. Think of the Gaia hypothesis, Earth as a living, self-regulating system.
So our creativity could be the planet becoming self-aware.
In a way, yes, or at least participating in its self-awareness. When artists consciously work with natural patterns, sacred geometry, the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio you see everywhere, they're aligning with a deep ordering principle. It's about harmony, not just aesthetics.
Connecting our inner world to the planet's health. And what about healing on a more personal level, like dealing with our own wounds through creativity?
Absolutely. That brings in the shamanic dimension. Creativity as soul retrieval. Reclaiming lost parts of ourselves. Many artists are essentially wounded healers. They're drawn to create as a way to process and transform their own trauma, or even collective shadows. The creative act itself can bring buried emotions or experiences to the surface where they can be acknowledged, integrated, maybe even turned into something meaningful or beautiful. The soulful storyteller archetype often does this, using narrative to heal personal and community wounds.
So it's not just expressing what's already whole, but actively mending and integrating what's fragmented. That's incredibly powerful.
And then there's this idea of the prophetic dimension, creativity as future remembering.
Mm-hmm.
Some mystical views suggest truly groundbreaking creative works aren't just made up. They're more like downloads, glimpses of future possibilities that already exist in potential.
Like accessing the Akashic Records, that idea of a cosmic library of everything.
Exactly that kind of concept. An artist, maybe a bold innovator, might tap into that, bringing back something that feels ahead of its time. It acts like an evolutionary nudge, preparing us collectively for what's next.
When you put it all together like that, what stands out most to you about creativity being this powerful, multi-layered force? From the personal to the planetary.
I think For me, it's the constant thread that creativity isn't just about the thing you produce, it's about who you become while doing it. It's this continuous journey of self-discovery, integration. The lines blur between the creator and the creation.
Yeah, that's a great point. So wrapping this up, the big takeaway seems to be that creativity isn't just something we do. It's fundamental to who we are. It's baked into consciousness itself.
Exactly. And understanding this isn't about becoming a better artist in the conventional sense. It's about becoming a more whole, integrated human being. It starts with recognizing creativity is our birthright. It's a spiritual practice available to everyone. It's seeing the sacred potential in everyday moments.
And really honoring our own unique way of being creative, right? Whatever our archetype might feel like.
Yeah.
Seeing that as a core part of our purpose, not just a side interest.
Yes. And learning to create from love, not fear or ego, to offer our creations as gifts without attachment to outcome. Trusting the process, too. Trusting that creativity is this amazing force that wants to flow through us. We just need to get out of the way sometimes. And ultimately realizing that our individual creativity contributes to the larger evolution of consciousness. It serves something bigger than just ourselves.
So as we finish this deep dive, here's a thought to maybe sit with. The creative journey is the spiritual journey. And the spiritual journey is the creative journey. They're really two sides of the same coin, the soul exploring its own divine nature. So the next time you feel that little nudge, that creative impulse, whether it's to write or cook or solve a problem differently, maybe see it as a direct invitation. An invitation to know yourself more deeply, to express your unique piece of that divine canvas.